Yay! Well, I am back for another live, and before we have a few people join us, I just want to take a second to talk about who's joining us tonight. We've got MJ Packer, who is the owner and operator at Kill Fiber Mill, who will be joining us tonight, and also Katerina Rieckel, who is the designer of Our Lady of the Lake shawl from Lookbook 14, which is what we're going to talk about tonight as part of this continuing designer series. Lookbook 14 is our Hudson Valley issue. I'm actually wearing a pattern that I designed for this issue, so I'm really excited to have these two fiber folks join us and share about their experience and inspiration. So let me go ahead and get them invited, and we will go from there. And I see that we've got people trickling into the room, which I'm very excited. Welcome. All right. So those invites have been sent, and I'm sure they'll be joining us shortly. For those of you who maybe haven't watched a By Hand Serial video before and you have no idea who I am, my name is Hannah, and I'm the editor-in-chief of By Hand Serial as of August 2021. I'm really excited about all the ideas and things that I've been working on for upcoming issues and our current collection, which is Return to Maine, and that's a purely digital collection. The issue that we'll be talking about tonight is Lookbook 14. It came out last year and has just released in digital for you to be able to pick up a copy in digital, or I still have print issues available. And it looks like Katerina is here to join us. I'm just trying to accept her invitation. Oh, Instagram, you're gonna make my life hard. All right, hold on, Katerina. I bet you're watching going, why isn't it letting her do it? All right, Wilder. All right. We'll try that again. Sometimes it's just really glitchy and it takes a few minutes. There she is.
Hello.
Everybody, please welcome Wilderness Knits, also known as Katerina Rieckel. It is Rieckel, right?
So it's Rieckel. It's
Rieckel.
a German surname.
Okay. I should have been able to get that. As a German Norwegian, I feel like I should have gotten that right.
That's all right.
And we have MJ Packer is on the way. I'm sure Mary Jean will join us shortly. But welcome. So glad that you could join us tonight.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for making the time. It's so exciting that they let us have kind of a little party on here now with more than two people. I'm like really excited about that. I haven't done one with more than one other person before.
I've never actually done Instagram Live, so this is the first
Oh,
for me.
really? It's really easy. It's so easy. The hardest part is just getting everybody in the room.
Right.
But it'll get there. So I have you here to talk about your design in Lookbook 14, Hudson Valley. And unlike Noriko Ho, who we had on Friday, you actually do live in the Hudson Valley, correct?
Yeah, I think you could say that. I live a little bit, maybe more north,
Okay.
near Troy, which is on the Hudson.
Oh, lovely.
I would say, yes, I'm still.
Yeah, I think Troy's in the Hudson Valley. I think it counts. If Battenkill counts, then you count because they're in Greenwich.
Right, they're even
Right?
more north. Yeah, they're like 20 minutes away from me.
Yeah. So what do you love most about, I mean, I know all the things that I love about the Hudson Valley, but I'd love to hear from you about what you love, especially at a time of year that I think it's kind of turning, the weather is getting really cold, and it can be hard to remember like what you love about it.
No, I just love this area, honestly, in all seasons. It's really beautiful, in the fall, of course. I mean, the fall is just gorgeous in here with all the mountains and the foliage. And but I love the winter too. We just have so many opportunities here to go skiing and You know, in the summer we can go swimming. There's so many lakes. You know, Lake George is just amazing, and
Yeah,
it's only like 1 hour
beautiful.
north from me. So I'm really grateful to live in this area.
Yeah, and when we visited, it was quite warm. We came in August, which is maybe not my favorite time to visit the Hudson Valley. It was like 90 degrees Fahrenheit every day and so sweaty. The humidity was so high. And I don't, I'm from the South, so I'm used to heat, I'm used to high humidity, but there is a point at which even I get grouchy about the weather. And our team was like, the peaches are great, but we're in such a bad mood like the whole time driving around.
Yeah, like the humidity gets really bad in here, and everybody has AC in their homes. There's like big changes in or differences in temperature, like very cold winters and really hot summers. So you get a bit of everything here.
Yeah, you get all four seasons.
Yeah, which I
My
love.
Yeah, my favorite season's got to be fall, though. I mean, fall in the Hudson Valley. If any of you in the chat have been to Rhinebeck, you've probably experienced a gorgeous Hudson Valley fall. It's incredible. It's a really special time of year out there. And it kind of kicks off knitting season,
Definitely.
right?
Yeah.
So MJ's having some trouble joining us, but I'm sure that we'll get her in at some point. I wanted to go ahead and show your design. So let me flip over to that page in the issue. And for anyone watching, I have these issues available in both print, which is obviously what I've got here, and then digital online. And have you released your individual pattern yet? Or is that still in the works?
Yes, I added it to my Ravelry store and on Etsy this week.
Wonderful. So this is Katerina's pattern. It's called the Lady of the Lake Shawl, and I'll show you a few different pictures of it. It is it's like a crescent, but it's angular. It's kind of like different, like a sectioned crescent shawl, but it drapes really nicely because of that, because the angles kind of sit on the shoulders really, really well. So it's very easy to style it. You can kind of get a sense of that shape here. And I love all the little details. These are like rivers with little trees. And then you've got garter stitch, which is probably my favorite stitch ever. And it just was such a joy to see that piece and feel that piece. So can you tell us a little bit about the development of the Lady of the Lake shawl and kind of how the yarn inspired it or how your region inspired it?
Right, sure. Yeah. So I was really inspired by the yarn, honestly, and the yarn is by Oysters and Purls, which now is being well, it was already manufactured in Battenkill Fibers, but right now the new owner is Battenkill Fibers, so there was a change in the owner, which I'm sure that MJ will talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So the yarn was really beautiful. It had this like subtle shade of blue, and it was a blend of I think I'm not sure if it was a blend of linen. I think it was, but it was called Water.
Yeah,
And
I think it's alpaca and Corriedale.
okay, yeah, I got
The
that mixed
super
with
woolly.
yeah other yarn that I was using. Um, but yeah, it really inspired me, and also I was watching a TV show at the time. It was
Oh,
called
I
Haunting.
think we got her. I think it's working. Go ahead and keep going.
Yeah,
Sorry.
a show that was called Haunting of the Bly Manor on Netflix, and
Oh my gosh, that is so scary. I tried to watch like a little bit of that.
yeah, I actually loved it. And there was this lady in the lake, and it really inspired me. Her face like washed off over like a long period of time while she was in the water, and it just really inspired me, that image of a woman and the weeds in the water. And this area has so many lakes and so many rivers, and it's just beautiful here, and I'm always inspired by water. I also did this sweater that had like shape of waves, so I don't know, it's like a pattern with me. I just keep being
No,
inspired.
I love that. I love when designers draw kind of on similar inspiration because then it creates this catalog of patterns that feel very similar and related. And that's wonderful. You know, you want people to be able to see your work and know that it's your work. So drawing on similar inspiration sources over and over and interpreting them in different ways, I don't think that can be a bad thing.
Right, yeah,
Um,
and it's strange because it just comes naturally. Like I don't even think about it sometimes, but my first sweater was also inspired by water. It was Stories of Ice, and so it also kind of goes with the seasons. So it's like, you know, flowing water and lakes, and then it's ice and frozen waterfalls, and
uh,
yeah.
so I just want to take a second and welcome MJ Packer, who's been able to join us. I think I was inviting you on the wrong account, and that's why we were having issues. But she is the owner and operator of Bat and Kill Fiber Mill, which now produces, has always produced the Oysters and Purls line, but now also distributes and handles the dyeing and new bases for that yarn. So we'll get into that in just a few minutes, but welcome. And this is so cool that we can have 3 people. That's like the coolest thing ever.
I know. I didn't realize that it did that.
Yeah, they just added this as a feature, so I was really excited to get to try it out with you guys. And I didn't realize, I think that you wrote it in an email, but it just slipped my mind that this is your first time doing an IG Live, Katerina. So welcome. Welcome to the magic that is Instagram Live. We have 10 people joining us, but this video will actually also be saved to our feed, and it will also go on YouTube. So if you have to leave early, don't worry about it. There will be a way to view it later. So tonight, for anyone who's just joined, I see that we've got a lot of people kind of popping in the chat right now. I am Hannah Thyssen. I am the proprietress for By Hand Serial, editor-in-chief, editrix, however you'd like to say it. And we are here with Katerina Rieckel, who's a designer, and Mary Jean Packer, who is the owner and operator of Bat and Kill Fiber Mill and the owner of Oysters and Purls, and they are both featured in the By Hand Serial Lookbook 14, which is the Hudson Valley issue. This is one of my favorite issues, and we opened the chat earlier by asking Katerina what her favorite thing is about living in the Hudson Valley. MJ, would you want to answer that question as well? What do you love about the Hudson Valley?
Oh, what's not to love? I love that it's rural and beautiful and safe and clean. And it's 3 hours to Montreal and 3 hours to New York City.
Mm-hmm.
There's everything here. I lived for many years in Vermont, which I also love. One of my sons and his 2 kids live over the border in Vermont still. But honestly, there's a very different vibe between being in Vermont and being here in the Hudson Valley. This is a much more industrious, energetic. I loved laid back. Vermont was a great place to raise my family. But I think the business does well being here in New York. When I started the mill in 2009, I was looking for locations and looking for support from economic development agencies. And it had always been in my mind the mill would be in Vermont, where I had lived for so long. And the support I got from the county I'm in now, Washington County, for a new business was just so important to that decision to come across the state line. And so here I am. I'm only a few miles from where I lived for 30 years, but New York just has so much going on.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. And I'm just going to take a second and share some of the photos from the issue. So as I was saying earlier, we went during August, which is a bit hot. If anyone watching is thinking about going, making a visit for the first time to the Hudson Valley, I can't really say that I recommend August as the best time to go.
But the Washington County Fair and the Dutchess County Fair, there's a couple of really the best county fairs in New York in August.
Yes, that would make it worth it. It is very green and very lush. Here's some pictures from one of the farms that we visited for this issue. All that green stuff. The produce is incredible in the Hudson Valley. I have to say my favorite thing about the Hudson Valley has to be the small town feel. everywhere that you go, I feel like the communities haven't really been overtaken by the chain stores the same way that they are in some other states that I've lived in and visited. I'm sure that you guys have lots of chain stores just like anywhere in the country, but it feels like the old style Main Street small business is still like very valued in Hudson Valley communities. And we saw a lot of that while traveling. And this issue really profiles more kind of like day-to-day road trips and places that you could go. We went to Cold Spring and Rhinebeck and all of the little areas. And there's so many dyers kind of in and throughout the Hudson Valley. The yarn culture there is pretty amazing. Katerina, do you get to work with lots of local to you dyers?
Actually, no, sad to say, but I always discover something new whenever I go to Rhinebeck, or there's also Washington County fiber tour in the spring, which is amazing. I love that. You can like different farms and really chit chat with the local people. It's just amazing. So you get wool from the source with no additives or no dyes actually, but yeah, you can also get dyed yarn, which is amazing. My mom does that too, and I have a lot of respect for people that do that because it's a very like long process to do that. You have to pick the, pick the natural ingredients like the flowers or money. It just takes a lot.
Yeah, and there's so many dyers doing so mmany different styles. We have a feature in this issue that's all kinds of like indie dyed yarns that use mostly acid dyes, but then the oysters and pearls that we had you work in is actually naturally dyed, which is what you're kind of talking about. And it's naturally dyed using indigo to get that very soft, beautiful blue color for Lady of the Lake, the watercolor. And Mary Jane, could you tell us a little bit about the Oysters and Pearls brand and about this particular base, which is the alpaca Corriedale, and the dyeing process for that?
Yes. So all of the yarns in the Oysters and Pearls line are spun here from materials that we source locally, but then we send them all to the Philadelphia area, to Winona at Green Matters Yarn Company, Dye Company, and she uses botanical extracts for those colors. So one issue with dyeing direct with flowers to yarn is, well, there's two issues. There's the reproduction ability. So if you wanted to make the same color next year, it's really hard to hit. And the other is it's pound for pound. So if you have a pound of yarn, you need a pound of flowers. And to grow a pound of flowers, you'll probably need a half an acre. So if you're going to make runs like I've been making, 100 pounds or 200 pounds at a time, you're talking about 50 to 100 acres grown to flowers. In a lot of cases, the flowers aren't those that are native to this part of North America. So what happens if you were going to do that is you'd end up plowing up land that's being used now to grow food to feed people in the Northeast, and also having to use a lot of pesticide and herbicide to keep down competing vegetation and to keep things from eating these flowers. And on top of that, the things you want to eat flowers, like the honeybees and wasps and things that the pollinators, this whole class could be called, they don't know what to do with it. The same with some of the wildlife, which sadly does rely on Washington County's corn crop as well as all of us. So it very much alarmed me to think of developing a commercial scale direct from plant dyed. We have a number of customers who do plant dyed direct, like Foster Sheep Farm, A Wing and a Prayer Farm, and they do an amazing job. They grow all those plants in their own garden, and it's a very much a symbiotic relationship, but they're also only doing it on maybe 50 pounds of yarn a year, which
Yeah,
is
really
still
small scale
small scale
comparatively.
and boutique and not planned for reproducing. That every year they come out with a new line based on what they have a lot of this year. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, and that's certainly not interrupting the food supply. But to go to the scale that Oysters and Pearls is at as a commercial yarn brand, it's not sustainable to grow those and dry direct from the flower. And that's why I was so excited that the founder of Oysters and Pearls as a brand, had developed this relationship with Winona at Green Matters Natural Dye Company, because all I had to do was call Winona and say, not only am I making the yarn, but I now am distributing it. I've purchased this brand, and could we pick up where she left off? And of course you can, because she has the recipes for all these colors. So that's a big part of this decision, to continue the brand and to use botanical extracts.
That's awesome. And this particular base that was used for the Lady of the Lake shawl that Katerina designed for us. Oop, I gotta
It's
find the
the
picture.
alpaca Corriedale.
Yes. And does that alpaca and the Corriedale, is that local to the Hudson Valley as well?
Oh, indeed it is. In fact, so this is one of the skeins. This is a great
So
color
beautiful.
too. The alpaca is not just local to the Hudson Valley, it's local to the mill. Directly across the Hudson River from where the mill is located is a absolutely beautiful alpaca farm. She's on the call right now, Elaine from Woodland Meadow Farm. And
Welcome, Elaine.
she and her,
Hey,
there she
I
is.
see her in the chat.
She and her husband, in addition to having a really nice quality alpaca herd, provide services to other alpaca farmers, shearing, health advice, in probably 100 or 150 mile radius. So
Wow.
they're not just alpaca farmers, they're sort of an alpaca hub, which has been a wonderful relationship for Oysters and Pearls, because this is one of our more popular yarns and one that we plan to continue. And since it's 50% alpaca,
You need the alpaca.
Elaine, get them, keep them growing. Elaine, don't.
Keep those alpacas fluffy. So, Katerina, what did you like most about working with this yarn? You know, speaking to other knitters in the call, like, how did you feel about this particular fiber? I know it's been a while since you worked on this shawl. It's been, I think, well over a year, probably more like a year and a half, really.
Yeah, I just loved, like, just even the packaging was amazing. It was very apparent that so much care went into creating this yarn, and the color is very unique. It changes almost with, like, the light that shines on it. It's like it looks like it's blue, or it looks like it's sort of gray. I love that about the yarn. I think you can even notice it on the picture that the color is like kind of subtle, and it kind of based on the light. So I really love that about it, and it was really nice to knit with it. Yeah, I only have good things to say about it.
The drape is so good. I mean, I really fell in love with the drape of that yarn. As at the time that we were developing that issue, I was the production editor for By Hand Cereals, so it's kind of my job to go through and suggest yarns for different projects, suggest designers. And I chose this yarn because of how much work it does to keep everything local, how much work it's doing to be, you know, kind of as green as possible, but just because the bases are exceptional. And I see that over and over and over again from things that are milled at Battenkill.
Oh.
And a lot of my favorite yarns are milled at Battenkill. I think you guys mill for Sawkill too, right?
Oh, for Kaylee, I saw her.
Yeah, so this is the
earlier.
design that I did in Sawkill in the same issue.
Yes.
And it's her bulky, Kaylee's bulky, and it's like so squishy, and it just makes good use of a fiber that maybe, you know, just feeling it by hand, you wouldn't be like, oh, I want to wrap that around my neck. but I knew that knit at the right gauge, it would be perfect. And that's the same kind of skill that Katerina has put into the design that she did for this book. The gauge that you chose for, it's a DK weight, right?
Wouldn't it as like a worsted almost?
Yeah, and it just made such nice drape. Like the finished texture is just exceptional. And you can see how it just kind of like drapes around the neck so nicely and creates this really soft garter stitch area. So if you guys are looking for a yarn that kind of answers the whole, this is from one region and the design is from the same region and the fibers from the same region, and even though it's a little further afield, the dyeing is done in the same place, like this is really a great yarn for that.
So how many skeins did that shawl use, Katerina?
Let me pop over and take a look.
Yeah,
I've got it right here.
So we have our Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Shopping Sunday. I don't remember what they're all called. We just had a 4-day sale on oystersandpurls.com. And why I mention that is people who wanted some could still get some with the 20% off code. It's holiday.
So perfect. That's easy to remember.
Sale. It's holiday. And but why I mention that is a whole lot of people jumped on the sale on Friday. And so my shawl quantities in some colors may be limited.
Well, this one comes in 2 sizes. So it's designed in a small or a large. The small uses 3 skeins and the large uses 4.
Okay, I'm going to leave the camera and grab what I have 3 or 4 in.
I think this was the small that we showed in the book, right? Oh man, I'm gonna have to knit myself a large one.
That's the thing is that I only knitted the small, so I would love to knit the large and see.
I would love to see this in, I feel like it would be so beautiful in just a natural undyed or like that soft kind of creamy color. Yeah, that's beautiful.
And I have these 3 plus 1 more. So I've only got 4 left in dyed. So just enough for a large. Then I've got in this beautiful rose, slightly orange. I don't even know what color it is, but we all look good in it. Katerina, this would be a good color for you. Hannah would look good, and so it goes fine with the white hair. It's just bright enough that I can wear it too. We have
a nice rosy, warm pink.
So we have enough for probably 2 shawls in that. And then we have 2 different indigos. We have the pale indigo, and we have probably 4 shawls worth of that. And then we have the dark indigo. And I've definitely got 1 shawl left in that. And maybe you could do a 4 and a 3, or if 2 people did a small, there'd still be enough for 2.
Yeah, you could get a very deep water kind of feel with that one.
Yes.
Right.
So what happened in this sale is people were buying in 1s and 2s and to make stripes. So I ended up selling a lot of these kind of combinations to people that were going to make like a Douglas Cardi or one of those kind of big sweater projects.
Or color work.
Right.
Color work is definitely having a big, when is color work ever not having a moment? I feel like it's always having a moment.
Color work though, all things considered, because it's a 3-ply and it's quite smooth. So
it's not going to grip the colors next to it quite the same
you wouldn't
way.
want to seek it at any rate. You could probably you could do some, but that's why I said a lot of people were buying it for striping, and a band of one or the other. For color work, I sell a lot of this Romney. This is a 2-ply, and I have that in quite a few colors.
And what gauge is that one?
That's a DK.
So you could use that one for this shawl too. That would be beautiful as well.
I think you could, Katerina. This is maybe a little thinner than the alpaca, but I think It's 240 yards and 100 grams. Do you think that would work all right, Katerina?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, good, because we have a couple of great colors in this. This one, which I think would be stunning in that design, and also a violet, which I don't have
Ooh,
here, but a fabulous violet that I think might be the winner of them all.
lots
Uh,
of choices.
Yardage wise, it's not much different. It's the same yardage. It's just this is so lofty, and this one's a little drapier. So you could just use 4 of these or 3 of these as well. And that's on sale too. You don't have to just shop the alpaca
Is
Corriedale
it the same code for the
on
bat and tail
holiday.
shop?
Yeah,
Holiday. Is
all
that
oysters
all
and
oysters
pearls.
and pearls?
Yeah, all
Oh,
oysters
okay.
and pearls.
Yeah, so
But
I put that code in the chat for anyone who's watching, and for those of you who kind of watch maybe this later in the week, I'm sorry you're going to miss out on this awesome sale, but that's the benefit of being live with us. So maybe next time you'll catch the live video. um, yeah, so since I have you both here, I thought that I would also ask you a little bit about what you have coming up and what you're working on now. We'll start with Katerina and give MJ a break for a second. What are you up to? What designs are you working on now? What's getting you excited?
Yeah, I actually have one behind me. So right now I'm having a group of testers testing this pattern,
Ooh, beautiful.
which is it's partially like hand spun yarn combined with Brooklyn tweed. I think I'm not sure if it's shelter. I think it was shelter. Yeah, so I'm actually still looking for some testers. So if there's any knitters that would like to test this Farah sweater, I'm still looking for some plus sizes. So
Knitters
XL.
in the chat, pop over. Get your name on that tester list. Now, is that intarsia or is it stranded color work or a combination maybe?
It's stranded color work.
So
Yeah.
you have some long floats on the back then.
Right. Yeah.
But since it's that hand spun, I bet they look really cool. So
Yeah,
you could like turn it inside out. I'm really into that idea right now.
I can do that. Let's see. I'm fighting with one hand here. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, I'm asking you to multitask. Sorry.
Yeah. That's okay. You just might be looking at the ceiling for a bit, but
That's okay.
there you go.
Oh, gorgeous.
A lot of
Yeah.
floats.
I love a good float.
Yeah. I also have a couple of other designs coming up that I did not finish the pattern yet, but soon I will be probably posting test goals.
So exciting.
I can show you those too, just quickly.
Yeah, we'd love to see them.
This is another sweater.
That looks so cozy. It's like got a lot of all over lace.
Yes, it's all over lace. It's kind of like a golden color. You probably can't see it much because we have the light on, so it's not ideal.
That's okay. We can probably see some better pictures of it in your feed or in your stories, maybe.
I don't think.
Maybe when you get the call for testers up.
Yes, this is more like a secret project at the moment, but it's coming.
Well, if you guys want in on that, you should make sure that you follow Katerina at Wilderness Knits. So it's like Wilder Nest Knits. Am I saying it right when I say Wilderness? Because I just think it sounds like wilderness.
Wilderness.
Perfect.
I'm building a nest with sweaters.
I love it. I love it. And MJ, what do you have going on at the mill? What do you all are there new Oysters and Pearls bases on the way? New colorways?
yes,
Ooh.
this is a sock yarn. I have had so many people reach out to me saying, I don't want superwash. I don't want nylon. I don't want cashmere merino nylon. But I want to wear it as a sock. So
You're speaking my love language.
They're asking a lot, and it's like I'm in a laboratory here. This summer, I had a chance to buy a beautiful clip of Dorset sheep wool, nice and clean, from up in northern Vermont, and I've gotten that all scoured. And I also had an opportunity to get my hands on some really beautiful mohair in natural shades, not just white mohair, but taupe and silver. And so now we're busy concocting different ways of different colors. So this is slightly off white. This is quite lofty. I think I got carried away with the Dorset in that one. This one, on the other hand, is I got carried away with the merino. Look, it's limp. It has no squish. And so we're not quite at market yet, but we're having a good time. It's definitely needs to be a 3-ply. And so that's my goal, to make just a fabulous sock yarn that can be actually worn is socks. You know, a lot of people want a sock yarn for shawl knitting, and that's great, but I prefer a 2-ply fingering for shawl knitting. But you really want a hard-wearing, tightly twisted 3-ply. Also,
I love an all-natural sock yarn. It's so needed. There aren't that many available. I keep a little list of them on my personal website. I have this thing called the yarn directory that I do, and it has a little list of non-superwash sock yarns, many of which also don't have nylon. So as soon as you get that developed, I'll stick it on that list, because people are always asking me, where can I find it? I have a couple patterns that are non-superwash yarn oriented for socks. And that's a question that people ask all the time. It's like, do they hold up? Yeah, they really do. They hold up just fine. It's all about the gauge, really, I think, with a non-nylon sock yarn.
Yeah, it's
non-superwash.
410, if not 420 in 100 grams. It's got to be pretty fine, because that Dorset wants to loft. And then you're really going to want to knit that at least 7 stitches to the inch, and maybe more like 8.
I go for 9. My favorite number for socks is 9 stitches to an inch. On size 0s or 1s. That's my goal always. And I have socks that have lasted, I don't know, like 6, 10, 15 years without getting a hole. The knitting of them is a little bit of a chore sometimes, depending on the yarn being used. That gauge can like really work your hands out, but you know, a little bit every day gets the socks by the holiday season.
We have a customer, well, we have several, but one in particular who has been experimenting with sock yarn on an old hand crank sock knitting machine. And so that's been very helpful to me, to have her feedback on what's working on that machine and what isn't, and save
awesome.
Some of this knitting. Is 410 enough? Is 420 the right number? And as you know, my longtime friend and collaborator, Gail at Cornwall Yarn Shop, is pushing me all the time to develop new yarns. That's where the original alpaca Corriedale request came from. And she carries that in an Aran, something heavier and something lighter. So she's always pushing me on this. And so I've got her test knitting everything that comes up too. But
that sounds wonderful.
Have it.
That's so exciting. Well, I think that you would have a market even for your rejects. You know, you could pop those up as one of a kind skeins, or, you know, you could just ship them to me.
Well, we have a little mill store. People who are close come over, and like all 3 of these are available.
They find all those goodies in the mill store. Are they online?
No, I only list the things I have a lot of. Like right now, we've just updated our regular shop, so that's at Mill Street Textiles. So that's what our little store is called, Mill Street Textiles, because it's on Mill Street. We invented the name for this little road. And I have almost 500 skeins of a really nice 50-gram decay up there right now for color work and just
Ooh.
hats, all sorts of fun things you could do with that. So when I have something that's a mill end or a overruns, and if it's enough, I'll put them up. But in this case, when I have the three of them, you must be present to win.
So locals first.
Yeah.
Locals get first dibs. Well, I think Katerina will probably drive over and check that out.
I've been to the mill many times. It's amazing.
Yeah,
We
I'm
love having
jealous.
you.
We didn't get to tour the mill as part of this issue. We didn't go quite that far north. We kind of stayed in the Rhinebeck, Kingston, Red Hook, Cold Spring
They call that
area.
the Mid Hudson, and we're in what they call the Upper Hudson. We're
Yeah.
north of Albany here.
But it's all worth checking out. It really is. The whole region is just stunning. And if you can get up there in fall, it's exceptional. Everyone goes during that one weekend for Rhinebeck, but if you just love visiting the region and you want to visit a bunch of yarn people, you can build your own tour. And you could even follow, the little tour that we took or use this as your starting point.
And in April, there is a tour. It's called the Washington County Fiber Tour. And you can drive from farm to farm and visit the mill. And some of our neighbors who aren't in Washington County, like Foster Sheep Farm, they open that weekend also. So there's plenty of things to see, and there's even a map and a website for Washington County Fiber Tour.
And when is that? What time of year is
The
that?
last weekend in April.
Okay, so right around Maryland sheep and wool season.
Yeah, right before.
So do both.
So I do that one weekend, then I go to Maryland, and then it's New Hampshire. It's 3 crazy weeks.
Perfect.
But it's sort of the kickoff to the fiber season. It's also a nice time to visit here in March when the sugar houses are all open. For people who are watching this from other parts of the country or the world, sugar house is where they make maple syrup, and they only make maple syrup in February and March. It's a very seasonal crop, and you can drive from sugar house to sugar house and have pancake breakfast and sugar on snow, maple flavored ice cream, and hot dogs cooked in maple syrup. It's quite the
we love maple syrup. So as kind of a funny aside, we have this issue that's the cabin issue. And it was like a bonus issue that we put out. It's only available now in digital. But one of the things that our whole team agreed on is that we really, really wanted to make sugar in snow with the maple sugar candy that you do in the snow. And we all wanted to make it simple. Well, Jen already had probably tried it before because she's from New Hampshire. But Andrea, who is from Portland, Oregon, and recently relocated to Maine. And then I'm in Tennessee. So snow is very rare here and goes away super quickly. And we don't have maple sugar. I'm sure there's some maple sugar shacks or trees somewhere, but it's not in abundance like you guys have. And so the only time I'd ever heard of it was in that Laura Ingalls Wilder book where they make maple sugar candy. And as a kid, I was so fixated on this idea. And I think Andrea might be in the chat as well. So she can confirm that we had this like team meeting and we were like, what can we put in this cabin issue? And we were all like, maple sugar candy, snow candy. So if you've ever wanted to experience that, if you also read Laura Ingalls Wilder as a kid and you were like, I really want to have that special maple sugar candy, go on this fiber tour, get some maple sugar, get maple sugar candy, eat maple sugar cubes, bring the syrup home. Everyone will love you. You'll get all your gift shopping for next Christmas done.
And in a shameless commerce moment, I will just say that my other half owns one of New York's largest maple farms.
Oh.
And so if you want the inside scoop on really good maple, still in time for Christmas, it's Maple Land Farms. So all one word, Maple Land Farms.
I'll type that in the chat for you.
Oh, thank you. That was shameless of me, but given all this talk about maple, I couldn't resist. And we have those little shapes of pure sugar. They
Oh yeah.
Land is also the maple vendor at Rhinebeck. So when you see people walking around eating what looks like roving, that maple cotton candy,
It's like
it,
maple cotton candy.
yeah,
Yes.
it
I
looks like
love that.
roving, but
That's so cool. I had no idea that the two were related.
yeah.
You got your own little empire running over there, MJ. This has been so fun. So before we kind of wrap it up, I just want to review everything really quick. So tonight's chat was focused on celebrating the release of Lookbook 14, Hudson Valley in digital. And as it's released in digital, we also released the rights to our designers to publish independently. So you can now buy Katerina's beautiful Lady of the Lakes pattern. You can buy all of Andrea's patterns individually from this issue. This is the Lady of the Lakes pattern designed by Katerina. Down there in the corner, you can wave if you want. Using yarn that is produced almost entirely in the Hudson Valley. It is dyed in Pennsylvania, you said?
Yeah.
Which is close enough, really, for the rest of us. And it is gorgeous, gorgeous yarn, dyed, manufactured, produced, fiber sourced, everything in that region of the country by Bat and Kill Fiber Mill and MJ Packer, who is also with us on this side of my screen. And it has been such a joy to have both of you here just to celebrate this launch with me and talk about this great issue. This is one of my favorite issues we've ever produced of By Hand Cereal. I think that it really exemplifies just the true beauty of the Hudson Valley, the warmth of the people, the color of the region, the lush vegetation. Does it have the big mountain shots or the big valley shots or huge oceanside pictures that some of the other issues do? No, because that's not what you get when you go to the Hudson Valley. It's about that like sense of closeness and nesting and coziness. And it's just such a perfect place to go and just relax and rest and feel sort of like in tune with both nature and the people around you all times of year. I mean, I wish I could be up there right now. I'm sure you guys are getting snow sometime soon. Do you have snow in the forecast? Has it already
We have
happened?
snow on the ground.
Oh, I'm so jealous. Here it's still fall. We're not done with fall yet. I think we had a 44 degree day, 44 degrees Fahrenheit today maybe. And everyone was like, "It's freezing."
Yeah.
It's so cold for here.
It
How
was
cold is it there?
18 last night.
So perfect for the wood stove. A wood stove winter night. But do you get snow on Christmas every year?
No, not anymore because of global warming.
Yeah.
Right.
When I was younger, I moved to this area in 1979, and we used to have winter start in the beginning of November, and it wouldn't let up until well into March. And the last few years, we've had green lawn on Christmas and a flock of bluebirds passing through.
Wow.
Yeah,
That is
already
different.
heading north. Yeah.
Wow, that is different to think about. Well, at least you have snow right now. That's more than I've got. It's not true winter until you have a little bit of snow, I think.
True.
Agree.
All right. Well, you guys stay warm and thank you so much for joining us. Tomorrow night, I get to come and hang out with MJ again on the Bat and Kill Mill feed. So if you didn't get enough of us today, you can hang out with us again tomorrow.
We're going to talk about some different things. So
yes.
Chapter 2, I want to, my listeners want to hear more about your two fabulous books, Slow Knitting and Seasonal Slow Knitting, and just pick your brains a little bit on the idea of matching the right breed of sheep to the right kind of yarn construction. And I also have a lot of hand spinners who follow me and would love to talk with you about your thoughts on hand spinning some of those fibers too.
It's going to be really fun. So if you're just catching us at the end of tonight, it's going to take me a couple days to get this video up on YouTube, but you will be able to rewatch it in the feed almost immediately. Like I'll post it right after we get off. So if you missed it, don't cry, don't be sad. You can still watch it. You can hang out with us again tomorrow night. And Katerina, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts about the inspiration behind your beautiful design. And
Thank you.
MJ, thank you for telling us about Oysters and Purls yarn. And that awesome code is still active. I don't know if it'll be active tomorrow, so you might want to think about picking up your shawl yarn tonight. The code is holiday. It ends at midnight?
Ends at midnight.
Okay, well, it's like you guys are down to the wire. But if you're thinking of making the shawl in the same yarn that it was designed in, tonight is the night. Buy yourself a Christmas present and have a wonderful evening. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.